That's a dandy. Oh! Oh boy. We better get down there. You ever notice how when you go fishing it seems like just a few guys are getting all the fish? You think it could be because of the bait gear they're using? I bet it is. A lot of times store-bought baits will work good, but when those fish have seen a lot of baits they can get real picky, and then only the very best of baits can work. In fact, a lot of times the bait can really make the fisherman. I like to use a shrimp and egg combination when I'm bobber fishing, and I'll tell you what I've noticed. Over the years, the very best of baits that I cure are the ones that take the fish, sometimes even more than my share. The truth of the matter is, if you're going to be out there, you owe it to yourself to learn a good cure. This cure that I'm going to show you today is a simple, no-mess cure, and I have fished this for over 10 years. I call it Dragon's Fire. Hello everyone. Been a great long week of coho salmon fishing. I've got a couple of great beautiful red tight skeins that I want to cure up for my bobber fishing later on this year and next spring. Basically I'm going to show you how to do a good, simple, easy to do at home cure. You're going to do it in a no mess fashion, and you're going to have a great egg to fish with afterwards. Alright, so some of the things you're going to need to get started here are going to be paper towels for accidents and easy cleanup of the cure messes. Plastic bags in case you choose to cure your eggs in the plastic bag like I often do, and a brining tub if you'd like to cure them in a brining tub. We'll explain the difference between the two a little bit later. You're going to need latex gloves because depending on whichever color is your favorite, you're going to have it stuck in your hands for 8 to 10 days if you're not wearing a glove when you're working with the freshly cured eggs. The dyes in the commercial cures are very strong. You'll also notice that here we're using ProCure products. This particular one is my secret add-in. This is ProCure Slamola powder with garlic. This is one of my all-time favorite secret sauces, and of course we'll get to that later also as to why that's one of my favorites. I'm also using two different colors of ProCure because I like to mix the colors instead of just using one straight color. I like to kind of have my own shade when I'm out on the water that day. And basically the mix of color and the secret add-in are what make up the recipe that I'm giving out today. But I really believe in the ProCure products. I've used them for well over a decade, and I'm very happy with the results that I've had that entire time. They've definitely got their share of fish for me. That's about all we need. Here we have fresh coho skeins, very good red textured color. These will cure up real nice. And these are tight eggs. With coho you want to use them when they're real fresh fish, because the later the season gets with those coho, the eggs tend to become a little bit chummy. I would prefer to have early fall Chinook or Thule egg or winter steelhead. But these eggs are good and tight. These eggs came out of a mint bright fish that was hanging high, and you know what? We should be just fine. Let's take this outside because I don't want to do this in an enclosed environment. You'll find that commercial grade cures are very fine powdered, and they will actually dust the area you're in, and not only will you be breathing it, but everything around the area will settle with a red dye. So we're going to take this outside and dust these. The first thing I've already done is taken a knife or a pair of scissors and butterflied out these skeins so that they're laid wide open. You can see they're not folded anymore if you look at the back side. And then the second thing that I like to do before I cure is I take a paper towel and I'll actually get into the vein here and try and run the blood one direction or the other out of the egg and onto the paper towel. You want to get these eggs out of the fish right away. I've said this before in other programs that even though you bleed your fish, and some of us actually bleed our fish while they're still alive, you want to get the eggs out of the fish. Put them in a plastic bag. I recommend carrying an extra plastic bag with you on the riverside. Let's move this outside. Okay, so now that you've got these eggs butterflied open so that you can get into each little crack, put your rubber gloves on so that you don't get the dye in your fingers. Open up your cure. Start at one end of the egg and very lightly cure. Sprinkle it on there very lightly. And make sure that it's getting in to all of those little folds inside. You see the folds inside there? We're going to get the cure down inside all of that so that it cures thoroughly. I'm going to go ahead and open up the other end here. The cure's a little chunky because it's moist out today, but I've got to get these eggs cured. I like to cure them within a 24-hour period. I find that they make a better bait if you do that. Each of these folds you need to get into. You don't have to have a lot in there, you just got to get a little bit into each one. Working it in evenly, but not heavy. Alright, now flip the egg over carefully and sprinkle down a good coating on the back side of the egg. This will go through the membrane and into the eggs on the back side that you're not getting to. Then take that side again and fold it back down onto the dish or into the brine tub. This egg has a little bit of blood. I'm going to try and work that blood seam out of there this way. See how it comes out? And dapple it up with a paper towel. That gets the blood out. Now it's good and clean. Alright, again, starting at one end, lightly, sprinkling down inside each of the little folds as best you can. It's not an exact science. If you miss some, it's okay because the brine's going to get it. When it sits in the tub, it acts as a brine. You can put it in a bag or you can put it in the tub. It brines what you don't get, but just try and get some down into each part. Turn the eggs over again, hit the back side, nice and light. And then again, fold it back over. Take the dirty glove, fold it over itself, get rid of it. Save yourself the mess. Now these eggs are going to juice up inside this tub over time. They'll come up with about a ½ inch, 1/8 inch to a ½ inch of juice in there. Don't drain it off, just leave it in there. Let it soak around for a little while. I like to leave them in there for about 3 or 4 hours, get them a good cure. But I'm going to put these eggs in a bag and I'm going to let them cure up in the bag. This is what I call the fire and forget it method. They got plenty of cure on them. Now what's going to happen is they're going to juice inside the bag. I'm going to put this bag in the refrigerator, and after they get done juicing, I'll leave them in there for an additional 24 hours, and the eggs will actually suck a lot of the juice back into the egg. I think this is a good method because it really pulls a lot of the fish attracting chemicals from the cure back into the bait. Now after that 24-hour period, and yes, I do flip them. I flip the bag, toss the bag around a little bit every now and then. But after that 24-hour period, you can pull them out and you can lay them on paper towels over newspaper and let them dry to a tacky, kind of a tacky feel, or the feel that you like the most with the eggs you fish. The mess cleanup with this is real simple because now you throw away the gloves, you zip up the bag, everything is contained. Take your tub over to the hose and rinse it out and you're done. You can see that these eggs, they've been in here for 15 minutes, you can see that they're already starting to juice up real good. That's what you want. That's the cures and the chemicals in the cure actually bleeding out. This is what you want. Now I have some of these that I did a few days ago. Let me show you what these look like after they've been sitting in the brine for about 24 hours. Alright, these eggs here have been curing for about 30 hours. Let's pull one out and take a look. Look at that. Just gorgeous. Does that make you hungry? I know a few fish it'll make hungry. Every species of salmon and the steelhead. This is actually a red-orange mix I've got here over a red egg. Produces a very beautiful color. Now they're not quite as tacky as I'd like them. They're just a little, the egg it feels good, but the membrane's a little loose. So I'm going to lay them down on these newspapers like this. I'm sorry, paper towel over newspaper. And this is going to keep the newspaper ink off of them, but what goes through the paper towel will be absorbed by the newspaper, and it'll just kind of help dry them a little faster. Just look at those. Just like that. Let them dry for about 6 to 8 hours. Put them back in the bag. If you over dry them, don't freak out. Just put a little bit of the cure juice back in there and it'll suck them up. But you can either store them in a plastic bag, and if you're going to freeze them, put them in either pint or quart jars. Flip them in the refrigerator with a little bit of juice in them for a couple days and then freeze them. And you'll come out with a beautiful egg that you can bobber fish with, drift fish with, and hell, even throw on a fly rod if you get desperate. Alright, so these eggs are kind of tacky to the touch on top. I like them a little bit wet. Some people like them a little bit drier. They're ready to be jarred if you like them a little bit wet. This is also the time that I like to add my scent to it. Any kind of special additives that you're going to use, this is a good time to put it in there. Pretty much the same way as the cure, but not quite so elaborate. Just kind of, just start at one end, sprinkle a little bit, going all the way down. It's on there. When you jar these up, when you cut them up and jar them up, like we're going to do next, it'll be mixed around real good and with everything, and it'll soak back in as the eggs begin to soak the juices from what we cut back in. I'll show you what I mean. Like a canning jar. This particular recipe is called Dragon's Fire, and many people will attest to the deadliness of this cure. Go ahead and take one end of the bait with your gloves and cut a good chunk of it off. Don't cut it into bait-sized pieces yet, though, or you're just going to have a big mushy mess of little bait pieces in there. Just take a big 4x6 square of it off, alright? Just like that. A nice big 4x6 square. And go ahead and drop it in the bottom of the jar. Just like that. Real simple. And repeat the process. Make another chunk, 4 to 6 inches, 4 inches square. It's a good sized chunk. This piece right here, you can see it still has, well, the seasonings are actually kind of trying to blend in now, but it's on there, and I'm going to put that one on top of the last one. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And I'm going to keep doing that until I literally fill this jar all the way to the top to where there's no air left in the jar. They tell you, okay, you have to take wax paper and burn it and then close the lid real quick so it sucks the oxygen out of the jar. This is hogwash. You don't need to do that. You need to fill the jar so that there's no air left. Now that one skein didn't fill this jar, so I'm going to go ahead and take another one and put the secret seasoning on this. And this is the only time I'm going to mention this about the secret sauce. There's lots of different scents that you can add onto this. You can put oils in it, and you can put powders in it. You can put different things in this. I like to use the powders because I don't want to add any additional liquid to the bait. I want to control that right now. I'm controlling that for the amount of drying time. Again, take one end of the skein, cut a nice big chunk of it off. The reason why I like to do it this way is because I don't have a big mushy mess at the end. And secondly, when I cut pieces apart to use as bait, those broken eggs that I've cut are going to milk really good in the water and just add to the flavor of the bait. Looks like we can put one more small piece in there, so I'm going to take a little bit smaller piece. Maybe split it down through the skein. There we go. There. Now there's not going to be much air left in that jar. It's pretty much packed. That's all we need to do. Then I take a paper towel and wipe off the rim of the jar so that we get a real good seal. And this is really all we have to do. This will last in your freezer literally 2 or 3 years, no problem. I'm telling you, I've pulled jars out of the freezer that were 3 years old and caught lots of fish on them. Now, this is going to juice up a little bit in the jar because of the fact that I've cut some of the eggs. This is okay. Just take these jars, get a good tight seal on it like that, and flip it over. Leave it in there for about 8 or 12 hours. Flip it over again. Just like that. And all those juices are going to suck back into the eggs and just plump them up like you wouldn't believe. They're going to be just big, juicy, plump berries. That's how you do it. This is a good jar of bait. I'll show you one more time. A little secret sauce. I'll start cutting chunks of eggs, about 4 to 6 inches square. This bait's going to be a little wet. I can dry it later if I want to also, though. I'm not limited to what I'm doing right now. It is workable. Not quite full. Alright. Pretty full. Let's put one more piece in there. Alright, I like that there. Again, take the paper towel. Maybe add just a little more secret sauce, right? Oh, that's right. I wasn't going to say that again. Canning lid. Seal it tight. There you have it. And you can see a little bit of the secret sauce on the bottom. As these eggs juice from where I cut, they're going to get that. There's going to be an inch of juice in the bottom of these eggs. And I'll just keep flipping these, like I said, for about 24 hours before I freeze them or before I use them, and they'll plump up, be nice and firm, but still usable. They're not going to be too wet and they're not going to be too dry. They're going to really be just right. So now you're saying, well, what do I do with them now? Can I leave them in the fridge for 6 months? No. You can leave them in the fridge for a week or two at most. Use them if you're going to use them. Otherwise, take those jars and don't worry about wax burning paper in the top of them. All you're going to do is taint them with flame smell. Don't worry about it. The better solution is to pack those jars good all the way to the top so that there's no air in them, and seal them up and put them in the freezer. I want to tell you, I've taken jars out that are 3-4 years old, walked down to the river and caught 3 or 4 springers in one day on that same jar. Alright? But when you're gonna go fishing and you've got jars of frozen eggs in the freezer, which will hold for up to 3 years and more, but I'm gonna say up to 3 years, pull them out a day or two in advance, unthaw them, and you're gonna find that they're kind of wet again, they're kind of loose again. No problem. Make sure the jar lid's tight, flip them over while they're thawed, flip them over a couple of times in your refrigerator, and they will thicken up again just like they did when we cured them. You're going to have a good fishable egg that way, and you will be able to freeze them for years, pull them out, and use them again, and have them be workable and not like sloppy, wet stuff that just falls off right when it hits the water. If you have any questions, email me. Thanks for joining us. one. Nice red meat, just like from the ocean, just like from the store. Look at that. Beautiful meat.